Hello bandits. Our new flashback series begins with one of my favourite games of the 90s. Developed and released by Psygnosis in 1997, today I'm taking a retrospective look back at G-Police. In G-Police, players took the role of Slater, a newcomer to the government police forces in the year 2097. Far from a law-minded idealist, Slater has joined to investigate the death of his sister, believing the official verdict of suicide was a cover-up. At the start of the game, you take control of the dated Havoc gunship, and you'll begin with some fairly regular patrols through the domes of Callisto. In the far future, mega-corporations have taken control of cities after stripping governments of military power. As a member of the G-Police, Slater soon gets drawn into a lengthy battle against one of these corporations in particular, and you'll spend the game battling against a variety of small and large air and ground targets in order to put them back in their place. G-Police was an absolute corker of a game back in the day, but how does it stack up today? Gameplay 4. G-Police was and still is great fun to play. The controls predate analog joysticks, so flight can be quite jerky and hard to get used to, but overall it is still a huge amount of awesome. There's a lot to get your teeth into with G-Police, and the variety of enemies and weapons gives you the chance to mix things up. The only minor drawback was, and still is, that G-Police is incredibly hard, and it'll take a lot more than just luck to get you to the later levels. Visuals too. In their heyday, the visuals for G-Police were widely complimented, however even then, the incredibly short draw distance did get some complaints. While the bulk of the visuals themselves hold up well, the draw distance now does mean that when played it feels incredibly dated. Other than that, the ships and environments still look pretty good for PlayStation 1, and the options for camera angles are great, but it can sometimes feel like you're simply flying around in a sea of black when you lose sight of the floor. Audio 4. There is some great music in here and a huge number of quite long cutscenes. There's also some pretty great voice acting. Things generally sound pretty good, although some of the music tracks do noticeably repeat, especially when in elongated combat situations. Narrative 5. It was relatively rare at the time for a game like this to have such an intense narrative, and for me this is one aspect where G-Police really stood out. With a number and length of cutscenes worthy of Metal Gear Solid, you'll be taken through a significant backstory to set the scene, as well as a well thought out and executed plot throughout the title. Replay 4. G-Police has 35 missions spread over 2 discs on the PlayStation 1. While the title doesn't have collectibles, the huge number of levels does give you a significant amount of game to get your teeth into. It's an incredibly tough title, and in order to get through to later levels you may well need some cheat codes, but being a 90s PS1 game, those are available as well. Overall, the Pixel Bandits retrospective flashback review for G-Police is coming in at a respectable 7 out of 10. This is one I really enjoyed back in the 90s, and I still do enjoy playing from time to time today. The draw distance and difficulty levels in general can make it quite tough to get into, but if you find a copy lying around, it is definitely worth slamming it back in for one more go. And that's all I've got for you today. Don't forget to check out the extended review at pixelbandits.org and keep your eyes out for more news, reviews and live streams coming soon. If you can spare enough for a coffee, every donation helps us keep Pixel Bandits ad-free and independent, and either way we'll see you again very soon, so don't wander too far.